Good evening, good afternoon, good morning. Whenever the fuck you're listening, watching, this is another episode of Tailgate Trash Talk, Season 2. And we're going bowling, Gary. We're
We're
going
going bowling.
ah, we're going bowling. But before we do, uh, as with every college football fan across America, we're mourning the loss of one of the most iconic coaches in all of college football. Uh, Mike Leach passed away uh, Monday night, early Tuesday morning. And so, head coach of Mississippi State, and kind of the news kind of just hit everybody, you know, like a freight train. Uh, kind of unexpectedly, had a heart attack, transferred to the hospital, airlifted, and everyone was saying it wasn't great, not in good condition. And unfortunately, Mike Leach passed away, less than a day later or so.
Yeah. I mean, you said it, iconic coach, right? We've heard from several coaches and players, former players across the country in the last 24 plus hours. And the big thing they talk about is like he revolutionized college football, right? Before he really popularized it at Texas Tech and at Washington State. He's kind of kept it with him, that fun and gun, spread them out, wing the ball all over the fucking place, run the ball a little bit just to kind of keep the defense honest. He was doing it before everybody, really, in the college game, and it was kind of that bridge time between we went away from a lot of the, wing tee and two backs in the backfield. And now we're five wides all over the place, no huddle across the board. And he was really the first one to embrace it and say, hey, we're doing this right on a grand scale. And I know June Jones is another guy who was kind of in that same vein, but Mike Leach, it's that, but it's also the every week it seemed like you get a soundbite from him.
Mm-hmm.
He always had he was very direct, very pointed, and a lot of it was kind of sage wisdom that he would pass along in a very unique way, right? He had a very unique demeanor about him, a very unique approach to it. But if you really listen to what the guy is saying, he's kind of preaching, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah. And it's, looking back, looking at everyone's Mike Leach story, as they, when they cross paths and everything, it was always to talk football, but the conversation ended up not being about football. For however long that conversation was, they didn't talk football. They talked life, they talked random stuff. I read one article. The guy was talking about his cat. The whole time. And so you just hear these stories, and and we talked about him several times this year.
Yeah.
With his post game about the whole getting married and eloping and this and that. Um, so it's definitely been interesting and fun and enlightening to hear these stories come out in the past 24 hours.
He was special, man. I know I've said it several times in our conversations. He's a national treasure, man. He's a lightning rod in a lot of ways, but he's also kind of a breath of fresh air in a very stuffy. Most coaches are very close to the vest. They don't want to give you that soundbite. They don't want to open up and show you anything behind the curtain. Mike Leach didn't have any secrets, right? And he didn't pull punches, and he wasn't afraid to talk to you like a human being as opposed to being a robot. And I think that's what made him so special. You mentioned the cat story. You mentioned the eloping story. And if you think about like that eloping story I mentioned a minute ago, like it's an odd conversation that in the end of it, he says, like, take that $15,000 you're going to spend on a wedding and invest it, buy a house, or put it as a down payment on a house, or start your life together. Like, you think about it, he's passing along some good advice within that that odd approach to kind of the conversation. And
Yeah.
he said, hey, I would do that for my kids, and I'd recommend it for you, and you can thank me later. He knew he was right when he was saying it, and it's what made him special. The Pirate, he'll live on in everybody's memory. He was a special kind of guy, and he was so fun to watch for the what 22 I think years he coached at the Division I level. So
yeah,
pretty awesome.
Absolutely. So, with that being said, got a short clip here for Mike Leach, and let's just play it here for everybody, and then we'll get on.
What do you really want from Christmas?
Coach, I know you have strong thoughts on weddings.
Going low. Trust me on that.
That's a good win. There's a lot of people. It's like Woodstock, except everybody's got their clothes on.
This weird basketball pass.
That was the beginning of the end.
Mike Leach was a martini mix of ingredients never seen before in college football. His coaching career, much like his 61-year-old life, was not only a road less traveled, but a road that didn't exist until he created it. His mind worked in mysterious, eccentric, and entertaining ways. He was an intellect and a football bohemian who didn't just push the envelope, but tore it up into little pieces.
This guy's going like this. Eventually, he's going to lose.
How else do you explain a football journey that never included playing college football? That saw Leach earn a bachelor's degree, a law degree, and a master's degree, and then follow his heart not to a courtroom, but to the sidelines, from the California desert to the coast of Finland, from obscurity to eventually head coaching jobs in the Big 12, the Pac-12, and the SEC.
See, I'm going to get my grandkids one of these things.
We're like one of the most constipated offenses on earth.
He was a singular personality with a singular offense that broke records and defensive coordinators' hearts.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
Leach never met a topic or a microphone he didn't like.
I think candy corn's awful. It's like fruitcake.
I hope there's Bigfoot. I don't think there is.
His stream of consciousness moments could have been pay-per-view. And his office was equally eclectic. Pirates, Geronimo, and this masterpiece.
Once in a while, a pirate can beat a soldier,
He won 158 games during his distinguished 21-year career, led 19 of those teams to bowl games, and was the National Coach of the Year twice. But Leach was bigger than life, not because of those numbers, but because of a personality that embraced all things unconventional, even his death.
When people write the Mike Leach obituary, how do you want to be remembered?
Well, that's their problem. They're the one writing the obituary. I mean, what do I care? I'm dead.
Man.
That doesn't capture him in a nutshell, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Let's take a moment of silence here to honor Mike Leach, and then we'll take a quick sponsor break. Sponsor break was brought to you by PocketPairClub.com. Pocket Pair Club, club number 26881. PocketPairClub.com. All right, Gary. Let's move the tempo a little upbeat here. The theme of it right now is bowling, So let's go bowling. We got some games here that start tomorrow, I believe, or Friday.
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 Yep.
So we got some games we'll get to. We'll look at. We'll predict the winners, the upsets, up until next Wednesday's games, and then next Wednesday we'll predict the next
Do it
round
all
of games.
again.
All right. Miami, Ohio, and University of Alabama, Birmingham. UAB 11-point favorite.
That's a
What do you
big
got
number
here, Gary?
for 6 and 6.
That is a big number.
And
Yeah.
I love me the MAC. So
Yeah.
I'm going Miami,
You going-
Ohio. I am.
I'm right there with you.
It's a big
I'm right
number,
there
but
with
I'm going upset here.
I will give credit where credit is due, because UAB
Didn't
making
have a
it to a
program.
bowl game. They didn't have a program a few years ago. So
Yeah.
for them to get back into bowl contention and everything else, back into a bowl game with what they've been through, the
Yep.
ups and downs, the tribulations, everything, kudos to them. But I'm with you on this one. I think Miami, Ohio is going to get the job done. And honestly, give me that point spread for Miami, Ohio. Like,
Ooh,
flip
couple scores. Okay.
it. Yeah. All right. The UTSA, the Roadrunners, bud.
Yeah.
Roadrunners. Troy. Troy's a 2-point favorite, Gary.
That's so fucking disrespectful. Give me the Roadrunners by a bucketful.
Where's Aaron to defend his team right now?
Right. We need Aaron to
Aaron, where are you?
Roadrunners. I got the Roadrunners, and like you said about Miami of Ohio, I got them by a couple of scores. Honestly, I know Troy's tough, the Sun Belt, they've got App State, yada yada, but give me UTSA by a bunch.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Right there
Too
with
many
you.
playmakers. Frank Harris is a stud.
Yeah, and I know. We talked about it on our last episode, as far as injuries and everything for UTSA. They've had some time to heal.
Yep.
So give me UTSA, and like you said, give me a couple scores as well too.
Absolutely.
We're 2 for 2 right now. I like it.
Here we go.
All right, so those were Friday's games. Saturday, Cincy, Louisville, 1.5-point favorite. This one's a tough one.
Yeah, I don't love it, but with Fickle being out, I do think that there's a little bit of turmoil there in Cincy right now, and they're kind of in an in-between transition phase. So give me Louisville and an Eaker. That number feels right, so maybe by a field goal at most.
Yeah, I'm with you on the team, but I'm going to say 13. I'm going 2 scores.
Okay.
I'm going 2 scores, though.
Louisville comfortably.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Florida, Oregon State, a 10-point favorite. I'd love to get your take on this one, Barry. I'd love to hear.
Yeah, kind of. This is kind of like the worst of both worlds for me. This is Florida, but I also have to look at a Pac-12 team favored by a bunch. But honestly, I don't like what Florida offers. I'm going to go Oregon State. That number's probably right, probably by 2 scores.
So, has AR-15, has he announced if he's playing in this game or not?
I haven't seen
he's the number 4
announcement.
quarterback.
Yeah, he's so good.
I didn't know if he wanted to keep his draft stock where it is or not.
Yeah, I haven't seen an official announcement on him. I think that probably is the anticipation, hence the number being that big. I don't know. Florida ain't that good anyway, even with him. Someone's gonna lose their fucking job in the NFL.
Yes, and I cannot wait to see who does it. I hope it is not your team. just because I know how much shit you are going to give and get.
Yeah, and to be honest, I look at kind of where the draft board lines up, and
Yep,
if Washington if Washington still feels like they've got to get a guy, I just hope that they like Sam Howell, right? Let's just stick with Sam Howell. Give Heineke the reins next year. We'll see what Sam Howell can be eventually. Just don't fucking draft it. Anthony Richardson. My hope is that the Giants take him. That's my hope.
Here we go. Yes.
That's my hope. That 3 guys come off the board early and he's sitting there for the Giants at, they'll be probably somewhere in the 15 to 20 range. Just go ahead and take him.
I like it. Man, I don't like that big of a number. I want to pick Oregon State. It is. I'm going Oregon State, but I don't like the number. I don't like the number one bit.
One score?
And and we're probably going to get burned on this one, but I'm not picking Florida in AR-15.
Me neither.
If we lose, we lose.
I'll ride with the shitty Pac-12 teams. Against Florida.
And that's an early one. That's an 11 o'clock. Yeah. Or I'm sorry. Cincy Louisville is the early game.
2:30 is still an early kickoff for them, though. It's 12:30 kickoff there in Vegas.
Yeah, true. Very true. Yep. Oh, all right. So moving on, Washington State, Fresno State. Fresno State, 3.5-point favorite.
That number feels good. Fresno State by probably 6, I'd say. They've got talent. Washington State really doesn't. Give me Fresno State by a score.
Yeah, we're on the same trajectory right now.
We're either gonna have a really good week or a really bad week.
Yep. Rice, Southern Miss, 6.5-point favorite here.
Can I just say something real quick?
Yeah, absolutely.
Seeing a 5-win fucking team in a bowl.
This is a talk show, so
seeing a 5-win fucking team in a bowl, like, what are we doing? We've gotten to the point that we have so many bowls that we now have to take in fucking 5 and 7.
But they actually canceled, I think, 1, maybe 2 bowl games this year.
Right? We've got that many. That we can cancel. I think it was 2 that they canceled, and we still have a 5 and 7 team in a bowl. Anyway, give me Southern Miss. I think they're going to hammer Rice, to be honest, probably by 3 scores, really.
Honestly, I think that 6.5 is low.
It's low.
Yeah. Yep. I'm with you. SMU, BYU, 6.5-point favorite.
Imagine this at the beginning of the season when BYU was in the preseason top 25. And they had won a few games in a row and gotten to like the top 12. I think they were 12 at one point. And now they're 5.5 or 6.5-point dogs against SMU of all fucking teams.
Yep.
BYU's a little beat up, but I'm taking BYU outright in this one.
Damn it. I was going to say the exact same thing. I like BYU in this one. Yeah. Man. One of these times we're just gonna someone's just gonna have to switch their picks just so we have someone
something to debate.
North Texas, Boise, 10.5-point favorite. North Texas was just in the conference championship game with the Roadrunners there.
Yep.
Does that sway your decision any? No. Didn't think so.
Boise's going to win pretty comfortably. That number feels 10 to 13 probably. That feels like the number.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yep. I was trying to get you to switch, but you weren't taking the bait.
Salesman.
All right, so that concludes Saturday's games, and that one starts at 9:15. Sunday, obviously, no college football. But we moved to Monday, and I love these midweek games.
Oh yeah.
Love it.
Oh yeah.
Gives you something to look forward to. You got Marshall. You got UConn. Marshall, a 10-point favorite here.
I'm gonna go against the grain on this one. I like what Jim Mora's doing up there in fucking Stills. I honestly, or was it Stores? I think is what it's Stores, Connecticut, whatever it is, but up in Connecticut. I like what he's doing up there, man, and I'm gonna take him outright. Double digit dogs. I'm taking UConn in this game outright.
All right.
Are we on the same page again?
We were, okay, but I'm going to switch it up here, okay? I'm going to switch it up because it's
how's this possible?
Because
I promise anybody out there watching, we don't consult before the game. We make our picks, but we don't consult with each other before the fucking show.
Nope. I was going to pick UConn as well too.
Oh my goodness.
I really was, but you picked them, so I figured, you know what, we're going to go against the grain. Start of a new week. I'm going with the Thundering Herd, baby.
All right.
Herd.
All right. And we got something that'll differentiate us.
Exactly. But going back to your point, though, I agree with you wholeheartedly with Jim Mora getting that Husky football team back in, some sort of relevance.
Yeah.
I mean, they were.
What was it, 18 in a row they had lost before they got a win last year? Something like that.
Yeah.
They lost a shitload in a row.
Yeah. It was bad.
They get into a bowl this year, man. And I like Jim Mora. I know he's gotten a bad rap a couple of places. He's kind of pissed some people off and made some kind of poor decisions here and there. But I like him as a coach. I like him as a motivator. I thought he had UCLA on the right track when he was there, and that's kind of where he soured people.
Yeah.
But I do think that this is his opportunity as well to kind of rebuild something and rebuild his reputation and maybe end up with another, high-profile head coaching position.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, that was Monday's game. Tuesday, Taco Tuesday. You got Eastern Michigan, San Jose State in the afternoon game, and San Jose State is a 3.5-point favorite. I'll go with this one. Yes, give me San Jose State here.
Ooh, okay.
I'm going to Tutty to 10.
Okay. I'm going the other way. Other way. Give me Eastern Michigan. I love the field they've got there, the bright green to go with Eastern Washington's bright red. But obviously they're playing in Idaho for this game. But give me Eastern Michigan in the mild upset here. They're a field goal dog, but give me the upset here with Eastern Michigan.
All right, I like it. So that's the afternoon game. The evening game, Liberty, Toledo in the Boca Raton Bowl. Toledo, 5-point favorite. I'm going Liberty on this one. And the reason why I'm going Liberty on this one, a little momentum with who they just hired.
Yeah, I do like that hire.
So I know he has no bearing on the players or anything else like that, but the players that are going to stick around,
you don't want to show them.
They want to show Coach Chadwell, what they got, what they're made of, and everything. So, yeah, give me Liberty with this one.
You know what? You just flipped me. I was going to go Toledo because of the Hugh Freeze hiring with Auburn and whatnot, but I love the hiring for Liberty. And I think that's a perfect point, right? The guys that are going to be staying there at Liberty are going to want to show something to him. And I do think that Liberty has more talent than Toledo. I think they're a better team in terms of their talent, their players that they have on the team. I understand the number Vegas has, yada, yada. But, yeah, you flipped me. I'm with you on Liberty. I was going to go Toledo. I'm on Liberty.
Nice. All right. Next Wednesday at 9:00, Western Kentucky, South Alabama, and the R&L Carriers New Orleans Bowl. South Alabama is a 4-point favorite. So this game will be played after we do our show next Wednesday. Does that bear anything? Does that change your mind or anything, Gary?
No, I'm going USA. Give me
Are you?
USA. Yeah, I know it's a tight spread, but give me them, and 4 feels about right. 1 score. USA. A lot of these are so I love what I love about bowl season is this first week. There's always these like oddball games that you'll get one that gets in the hundreds, right? Like 50-50. You'll get another one where a team that like had a shit season blows somebody out, or you'll get one with like Florida, right? They're the SEC powerhouse and they go get their shit stomped by Oregon State. Those sorts of things. Like we see those things this first week of bowl games. I'm excited for it. A team like USA is going to have the platform to themselves next Wednesday. Like you said, I love the midweek games. I also love that like during the midweek, we only have 1 game. They're not jamming a bowl game in the middle of the workday. We get 1 game. These smaller programs get some eyes on them that they wouldn't normally get. So, but absolutely. Yeah, I'm going USA in this one.
All right, I'm going Western Kentucky.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with the Hilltoppers here.
I like it.
Yeah. And give me them by 10.
Ooh,
2 scores.
Okay. Flip the script. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
That does it for our bowling games for the current week. But we'll come back next Wednesday and we'll do our picks for the next week and potential CFP playoffs. It's not potential anymore.
Right around the corner, a couple weeks.
It is right. It is.
Couple weeks, we get our first look at the playoff.
Yeah. So, Gary, we got some time here.
Yeah.
What? I'm putting you on the spot here, but what? Since our last episode, we talked about some coaching hires and everything else like that. What has, I guess, intrigued you most since then about the college football season, where we are right now, and moving forward into the finish line, basically, of the college football season?
Yeah, I think you mentioned the coaching hires. That's what intrigues me the most, and it's from kind of different perspectives, right? So I look at the Nebraska hire, and you and I talked about that. I love Matt Rule, but you made a good point. Does he come in, does he build it, and then bounce somewhere else? I think Nebraska has potential to kind of seize something there. The NFL, I think, is the only path that would kind of call his name to get him back out. He probably feels like he didn't have a fair shake in Carolina, yada, yada, yada. The Hugh Freeze signing in Auburn, in my eyes, has the potential to go either really, really well or really, really sour. Really, really well would be what he did at Ole Miss, what he was bringing in the number 1, number 2, number 3 recruiting class with all those big dogs, all those heavy hitters, Treadwell, and they put a bunch of guys in the NFL that Hugh Freeze recruited. Yeah, Aaron, we were talking up the Roadrunners, man. They're dogs in their fucking game. What's up with that?
Yeah.
But yeah, from the coaching perspective, that's what's intrigued me the most. And then I look at Luke Fickell going to Wisconsin. I was blown away. I would have never put his name with that head coach opening, because the reporting that has come out about how little they spend on their athletic program, their recruiting program, yada, yada. It doesn't seem like it's an upgrade for him going from Cincinnati, who's going to be moving to a big conference, going to Wisconsin, who's been down. They're in a conference where they've got some real behemoths in Michigan and Ohio State. They're bringing in UCLA and USC and Oregon. It's going to be a big challenge for him, and I don't know that he's going to get the time to build that the way he needs to build it. I honestly thought he was going to go to a more ready fit big time program. And I thought it was after last year that he was going to take one of these big time openings, and he didn't. So then to see him take Wisconsin this year kind of.
Well, and especially after he just signed that contract extension in February.
Right. And I know that was sort of protection for Cincinnati too. We see that a lot, but
well, Liberty did it with Hugh Freeze.
He did, absolutely.
Just 2 months ago.
Yep. So with that one, I still haven't been able to look at it and say, I understand why he took the job in Wisconsin. I just don't see it. I really don't. Honestly, I'm not 100% confident that he survives this season. I know the money's crazy. But you know how much goddamn money they have in College Station? That oil money, all them fucking donors, they'll find a way if they've got to buy him out. That money's crazy, though. But I think that with the portal news, and if they start to feel like they're not recuperating or bringing guys in out of the transfer portal or getting some of their guys back, they might make a drastic move. Maybe not because it's so late, but I am surprised he survived this season as poorly as it went, and as bad as the transfer portal was the moment their season ended. It seemed like everybody was in the transfer portal from A&M. I'm really surprised.
I'm surprised they still have a team.
Play calling. Yeah, I am too. He gave up play calling, but then I believe he took it back later in the season.
He took it back. I disagree with you. And it is because of the money. That's a lot of guaranteed money.
That's a ton. It's a ton.
It's a ton of money. And so, I mean, and just think about it, okay? You fire him after this year. Or right now, actually, because he doesn't have a bowl game. Okay.
Right.
What, 85 mil? Something like that? It's in the 80s. Okay.
It's damn near 9 fucking figures.
Okay. Let's just call
just
it
to tell a guy to go sit on his couch.
Yeah. Let's call it around 80. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you got to go hire a guy, and you're
going to have to pay.
Who you're going to have to pay. You just saw what they paid Matt Rule.
Rule got a bunch. Yep.
To come coach at Nebraska. That's an 8-year.
Look what Freeze got at Auburn. You're looking at big money. Yeah, I mean
you're in the so now you are in over $100 million.
You're probably over 150
for 2 coaches, right?
Hire a new guy. Yeah, you're probably over 150 over the next 4 years, 5 years. So, woo.
Yeah. So I honestly.
You might be right that I honestly
think you're stuck with him for at least 2 years.
2 years, probably. Yeah,
at least.
You might be right, man. That money's silly. That money's so silly. Oh man. Yeah,
Raul. Yeah, absolutely. I'm open for it, but been waiting for a while now. It does sound like the coaches are not afraid to go out and recruit. Yeah. And it sounded like the old regime did not do that very good. So it's nice to see that right now there especially in the state of Nebraska. You know, they had a lot of in-state talent that they let slip away to other schools. So they're trying to keep that in-state talent where they belong. So, but yeah, Hugh Freeze, I'm with you. It could go extremely well or extremely bad. I'm on the extremely bad part.
I'm leaning that way. I really am. I just remember,
and honestly,
Kimdichie and all those guys, man, he had some talent that he brought in there. Obviously, there was some shady shit going on, but
yeah. Honestly, though, I don't think he will be the problem.
Oh, no.
I really don't. Honestly, I think it's going to be the administration.
That's fair.
I mean, look what they tried to do.
It's not good there.
No, look what they tried to do.
Yeah.
For the coach that they just fired.
They tried to sully it. They tried to pull a Dan Snyder, essentially. They tried to sully him in the media so that they could fire him for cause. That's grimy shit. That's a classic fucking Dan. They must have consulted with the Commanders on that.
Yeah. Absolutely. Oh man.
So what about you? What over the last couple of weeks? What have you kind of taken away? What are you intrigued by?
Honestly, you could say the Dion hire.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna go the transfer portal because it seems like, and you and I have talked ad nauseum about the transfer portal and how much it sucks. The first day by 11 o'clock, there were over 700 players in the transfer portal.
Yeah.
And so, I get if your coach leaves and you want to transfer out, you weren't recruited by the incoming coach. I get that. Fine. Great. Okay. But to just go somewhere for 1 year and you're seeing this now with NIL and especially A&M.
Oh yeah.
Saban called it. You paid
We
your
got
bill.
our bag.
And the players even confirmed it.
We got our bag. Now I can go where I want to go.
Now I can go where I want to go. Exactly. And so the transfer portal, the NCAA needs to do something to, if your coach doesn't leave and if you want to transfer, then go back to the old system.
Sit out a year.
Sit out a year. Who is it? Quarterback for, oh man, it's an SEC school, I think. Don't get me wrong here. Or I cannot think of his name. But he's played in the Pac-12, the Big 12. I think he's in the SEC right now. And
he's back in the transfer portal.
And he's back. He's got one more year to where he could be in, and he's in the transfer portal right now, to where if he plays in the Big Ten, I'm trying to think of who it is.
I can't think of who it is, but I know that there's a couple of guys that have kind of bounced around. And I'm with you, right? We've got to get to a point where we get this kind of reeled back in, right? COVID year, I get it, was an exception. Sure. But they had to have some sort of idea that this could happen, and they had to think through, right? Like a plan of, hey, this is how we reel it back in. But it's clear they didn't, and they're just okay with it being the Wild West. This isn't good for college football.
No.
Look, I don't want kids to just be beholden, but they weren't beholden under the old system either. Yeah, you lose a year of eligibility, but I feel like kids made wiser decisions under the old system because they knew they were going to have to sit out a year. You look at programs like, let's take Bama, for example, right? I know that the Bama thing is tired and the Saban thing is tired, but you look at what Bama does. They've got the supernova guys, right? The 5 stars that come in, they start from day one. But you look at guys like Najee Harris, even Derrick Henry to a certain extent, Brian Robinson, who's now hitting his stride with Washington. And just from a running back perspective, they're guys that didn't start from day one, but went early in the draft in the NFL and had a lot of success at the next level. You look at linebackers, even Will Anderson, didn't start right away. Yeah. Now he's maybe the first pick in the draft, right? Who stuck at a program where they could maximize his talent, they could figure out where he fits. Yeah, for sure, that fantasy waiver wire.
Yep.
But it's things like that make me say, like, we've got to get this thing reeled back in because it's getting to be too much. Kids, I think it's bad for college football. 2, yeah. I think it's bad for the kids themselves, to be honest. To Absolutely. Just be bouncing around from program to program, system to system. You're going to a place where they expect you to come in and just be a contributor from day one. I don't know that that's good, with the exception of maybe a couple of positions. Like we saw, a couple of guys do it this season that went and had, like USC, right? They got a couple of guys in and had a good season. That's not going to be the case for the large majority of these kids. And I look at a lot of them and I say, man, you're potentially losing out on what your future could be, because you're going to a program that, if you don't start right from day one, they didn't recruit you. They brought you in the transfer portal, and they expect a lot from you. I just think it's bad for college football, and I also think it's bad for the kids who are doing this. And it's not like free agency when you're an 18, 19, 20-year-old it's not something I would expect them to be able to handle.
No, and that's where we talked about it last year too. And this is now a business. It's been a business, but now it's kids
on the books.
It's on the books. The kids are involved in it now.
Yeah.
As far as getting the money.
Yep.
What is one thing that the NFL does that I haven't heard about it, and if there is, great, but what's one thing that the NFL does for rookies that college doesn't have right now? Orientation. And
we talked about
money management.
The guy from Oppendorf.
Derek. Yeah.
We talked with him about it, and he said, like, that's part of their thing is, like, they have when you sign with Oppendorf, you have training material. Colleges aren't doing it yet, and they need to. They weren't prepared for this NIL thing. They weren't prepared for the transfer portal to be the way it is. And you're absolutely right. The NFL has rookie orientation. Guys like Chris Carter come in and tell them they have to have a fall guy, right?
Yeah.
But they also have more structured conversations that they get good advice, right? And colleges need to do that, because we have, like, as somebody who's gone through it, right? We played, and there is orientation to a certain extent, but you're getting oriented to the school, you're getting oriented to the baseball, football, basketball program. You're not being oriented into, hey, now you've got a bag that you just got from some big time sponsor. You're selling Lamborghinis for the local dealership with your face. You don't. These kids don't know how to handle that kind of money. They don't know how to handle that kind of responsibility. I know as an 18, 19, 20-year-old, I wouldn't be able to, right?
Oh.
And a lot of these kids who do play on these programs come from backgrounds of even less than I did, right? I wasn't rich growing up, but these kids have newfound wealth that they've never experienced before. And I just think that it's bad for college football, and I think it's bad for these kids the way this is being handled.
Yeah, absolutely. And at the same time, I think if you are signing an NIL deal, that they need to put something in there. Okay, you get this much money.
It's a contract. Right?
It's a contract. Exactly. It's not just for 1 year. It needs to be for however long you guys agree upon, Yep. And that's just that's my thought on it. And I mean, because that's a business decision, it's call it like somewhat of like a non-compete or whatnot too, but
sure.
Yeah, it's definitely gotten to be out. It's out of control is what it is. And I don't think that NCAA anticipated what it could be. And it's become that and then some.
I think the NCAA went into it very arrogantly, right? Like, oh, these kids aren't going to want to leave these schools. They're loyal to these schools. Dude, you're talking about kids going into the portal and possibly getting paid, right? Loyalty to a school only goes so far.
Yeah.
And we've seen that to this point. With A&M's the perfect example of that. All these kids say, we got paid. Now we can go where we want to go, right? I took care of my mom and my dad. Now I can go play where I wanted to play originally. And I don't think the NCAA, from an arrogance perspective, I think the NCAA thought, no, these kids they're gonna pick a program. They might get paid a little bit, but they're gonna stay right there and play football. It ain't like that. Yep. It's become, as you put it perfectly, it's become a business, and this is the nature of doing business in this manner.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So yeah, for me, I mean, it's just that's been the thing since basically the regular season has ended to now. Just the main thing that I've been watching aside from the coaching hires.
Do
So
you think? Do you think that the NCAA is going to do something about the transfer portal, or do you think that they're just going to treat it like it's the Wild West? We don't need to fix it. Is it going to take some of these schools to step up and say, okay, we've got to do something about this? Some of these powerful schools like Bama, yada yada.
good, Aaron.
Yes,
Good. We were hoping that would happen.
beautiful, love it,
Yep.
love it.
Say that
Love
last
it.
part again. Sorry.
Do you think that the NCAA is going to make a change to the transfer portal, or do you think it's the Wild West, let everybody else deal with it, or maybe it takes a couple of these big time schools, Alabama, Ohio State, etc., with the clout to tell the NCAA like we've got to do something? Maybe it's the commissioners, right, of these conferences that go to the NCAA and say we've got to change this. Is there change coming, or is this just going to kind of be the landscape of college football right now?
So two-part answer to that. And you hit the nail on the head with commissioners. I don't think it gets done without the commissioners saying something collectively about it. Second part, the NCAA for football anyway, and probably as a whole, is not going to be around in the next 10 years.
That's fair. That's fair.
So then So then at that point in time, they obviously don't have a say in it. And then I think it becomes the commissioner's problem for that sport.
I think eventually NCAA football, I think football is going to break off, and it's going to be, I think the institutions are going to find a way to have it sanctioned separately from other NCAA sports. And it's going to be the minor league or I shouldn't say NCAA, because I think you're right. The NCAA, at least in its current format, is going away. I don't know what it's going to look like in 10 years, but I do think that college football is going to become minor league football, essentially. And I think the NFL, if the NFL plays it right, I think it can be a really good opportunity. I think what it could become is you leave high school, you sign a contract with an academic institution to play for that school and get your education. And you cannot join the NFL until you graduate. You get your degree, and then you can come to the NFL. That, to me, I think, is on the surface, and obviously there's a lot of machinations under that. This is not a complete solution in any stretch. I wouldn't fool myself to believe that. But I think that the NFL can really turn this into something that is much better than kids going and just kind of skating through school. Let's get these guys an actual education so that when they go to the NFL and they experience that attrition rate that the NFL experiences, and most guys' careers end after 1.5 to 3 years, they've got a degree to actually fall back on instead of a pseudo kind of hollow degree where they didn't go to school at all. I think the NFL has an opportunity if it does go that route. I think if the NFL does put that focus on, okay, you're going to go play in the quote unquote minor leagues, you're going to get an education. Once you graduate with your degree, then you can come play in the NFL. I think it's a great opportunity that there could be a lot of holistic kind of growth for everybody involved.
Okay.
Just throwing it out there. I don't know if anybody is going to think about that, but
No,
I think it's a good opportunity.
Good idea. Very good idea. So
they do, right? Most of the four-year schools do have associate's degrees. There you go, Aaron, right? Like I said, it's not a complete solution. You've already found the loophole.
yeah.
Guys, I mean, you look at a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, right? I think most people would agree that when Jadeveon Clowney was at South Carolina, if he'd have been allowed to come out after his freshman or sophomore year, I think he was physically at a point that he could have played in the NFL, right? Most guys I wouldn't say that about, but Jadeveon Clowney was different.
Yeah.
There are exceptions. Now, the associate's degree, right? Aaron, you've already found a loophole. Does the NFL say you've got to get a 4-year degree? Does the NFL say if you get an associate's, you can try it out? It's like the NBA, right? They went, okay, you got to go 1 year to college, but nobody goes to school, yada, yada. It's not even worth them going to college, on down the line. It needs some massaging and some building out, but I think that the NFL has an opportunity that if college football just becomes the minor leagues, pair that with you're going to get an education because this league chews people up, spits them out, and most of them end up flat on their face or selling insurance, right? Get a degree that's going to give you an opportunity that when you're done playing football, you can go on and get a business degree or whatever it is that you're going to get. Get a degree, come play some football, and we'll figure it out from there.
D1 trade school.
There you go. I like it. Teach them how to weld.
Yep. No, good conversation right there. Good conversation. Very, very deep thoughts right there by you, Mr. Freeze. So appreciate it. Yeah. Any closing thoughts or remarks before we wrap up this episode?
Not a lot. Just excited about bowl season, man. We've got a lot of. I think, like I mentioned earlier, I think this first week especially, we get a lot of teams matched up. They don't know anything about each other. And it's fun to watch these games. Sometimes you get those high-scoring 100-point games, 51 to 50 or whatever. Or then you get a team that nobody really knew anything about, and somebody explodes on the scene and makes a name for themselves, especially those upperclassmen that are kind of maybe fringe NFL guys.
Yeah.
You could see some guys really move, turn some heads and get some eyeballs on them. And the midweek games are great because we only get one on those weekday games, and everybody's eyes are on those single games. So a lot of good stuff for bowl season. I'm excited about the start on Friday.
Absolutely, bud. Absolutely. Nope, you hit it on the head. Excited for these bowl games to start, and love the midweek games as well. Got a game basically every day during the week and everything, so can't wait for that.
Love it.
Well, without further ado, this was another great episode. Gary talked some bowl games, talked about a great guy in Mike Leach and the passing of him, and we talked transfer portal and some head coaching gigs, and just going to be another great week of college football, and we're going bowling, bud.
Yes, sir.
Well, we thank you for coming along. Another great episode of Tailgate Trash Talk Season 2. It's bowl time. Gary, appreciate you again, sir.
Appreciate you, buddy.
That does it for us tonight on Tailgate Trash Talk. For Gary, I'm Big Stove. We are out.